Let's talk about a true South African icon, a name synonymous with laughter and unforgettable moments. Leon Schuster, a comedic force that swept across the nation. For decades, he was the king of comedy, a jester whose reign was marked by uproarious laughter and sold-out shows. The man who could make anyone laugh, bridging divides with his unique brand of humor. From your gran, who secretly loved his cheeky antics, to your grumpy uncle, who'd begrudgingly crack a smile at his outrageous pranks. Nothing defined his legacy more than Mr. Bones, the character that cemented his place in South African cinematic history. A film that became a national event, a cultural phenomenon that brought people together in shared amusement. When Mr. Bones hit cinemas, the whole country paused, lines stretched around blocks, and theaters were filled to capacity. Suddenly, everyone was quoting, "The Bones, they do not lie." It became a catchphrase that echoed through playgrounds and boardrooms alike. Schuster's slapstick antics and goofy charm, his ability to connect with audiences on a deeply human level, made him a household hero, an icon whose presence was felt in every corner of the nation, capturing the quirks and chaos of our rainbow nation, reflecting our diverse identities back to us with a comedic lens. But as the years rolled on, the spotlight faded, and the landscape of South African comedy began to evolve. What happened to the master prankster after Mr. Bones? Did he hang up his hat, or did he find new ways to entertain? His story after fame is just as fascinating, filled with unexpected twists and turns that reveal the man behind the laughter. More films, surprising turns, and a lot of heart. A testament to his enduring passion for making people smile. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the man who made a career out of fooling us all, revealing the secrets behind his comedic genius. We'll explore what made him tick, how he captured the nation's funny bone, and what he's been up to since, uncovering the layers of his multifaceted career. Leon Schuster isn't just the guy from Mr. Bones, or a one-hit wonder of South African cinema. He's a reflection of a unique era in South African comedy, a cultural icon whose influence continues to resonate today. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and maybe check your seat for a whoopee cushion. You never know what surprises Leon Schuster might have in store. Before the legendary pranks that would captivate a nation, Leon Schuster was just a regular kid growing up in Bloemfontein, a city nestled in the heart of South Africa. A city perhaps better known for its esteemed judges and legal institutions than for its comedic exports. He was raised in a traditional, strict Afrikaans home where values and discipline were paramount. He attended Hoërskool Jim Fouche, a well-respected institution, and diligently pursued his education, even earning a teaching diploma. Can you imagine being taught by a young Leon Schuster, brimming with mischief and a twinkle in his eye, unknowingly destined to become the king of pranks? But his true calling, his real break, came not in the classroom but on the airwaves, on the radio. It was there, behind the microphone, that he truly began to hone his craft, mastering the art of the audio prank. He spun wild, elaborate scenarios, creating characters with distinct voices, perfecting his vocal disguises and pushing the boundaries of what radio could be. This was his training ground, where he learned to truly read people, understand their reactions, and anticipate their responses. He learned how to push their buttons, exploit their vulnerabilities, and ultimately get the perfect, hilarious reaction. From the radio waves, he fearlessly ventured into the world of music. He began releasing comedy albums filled with his signature brand of humor. These albums weren't just funny, they became the unofficial anthems of the Springbok rugby team, embedding themselves into the national consciousness as unforgettable earworms. And then, the silver screen beckoned, and the movies came calling. With films like You Must Be Joking, and Oh Shucks, It's Schuster. He brought his unique comedic vision to a wider audience. He was bringing his signature candid camera gags, the very essence of his humor, to the big screen. He wasn't just telling jokes and delivering punchlines, he was orchestrating real-world chaos, capturing genuine reactions and turning everyday situations into comedic gold. He masterfully blended reality with absurdity, creating a comedic style that was uniquely his own. By the time the iconic Mr. Bones graced the cinemas, Schuster had transcended the label of comedian. He was a cultural phenomenon, a brand recognized and loved across the nation. 2 decades spent making South Africans laugh, often at themselves, had cultivated a fiercely loyal fan base, eager for his next comedic offering. He possessed an innate understanding of the country's unique quirks, its cultural nuances, and he fearlessly put them on screen for everyone to enjoy, fostering a sense of shared identity and collective laughter. Schuster's meteoric rise was about far more than just pranks and silly gags. It was about celebrating national pride, embracing a shared sense of humor, and providing a much-needed good laugh in a nation often grappling with serious issues. He was ready to deliver his biggest, most ambitious act yet, a performance that would solidify his place in South African comedic history. And South Africa, with open arms and roaring laughter, was undoubtedly ready for him. What made Mr. Bones such a phenomenal hit, captivating audiences across South Africa and beyond? What was the secret ingredient that turned this seemingly simple comedy into a cultural phenomenon? At its core, it's a classic fish-out-of-water story, a narrative structure that has resonated with audiences for generations. The premise is wonderfully absurd. An African Sangoma, deeply connected to his ancestral traditions, embarks on a quest to find a royal heir, only to stumble upon a clueless American golfer, completely out of his element. The setup was perfect for chaos and slapstick, a comedic collision of cultures and personalities that promised uproarious laughter. But it was more than just gags and pratfalls. The film had a surprising amount of heart. The film mixed slapstick, the kind that transcends language barriers, cultural comedy, poking fun at South African customs and stereotypes, and genuine heart, creating a surprisingly emotional connection with the characters. It was a film that never took itself too seriously, allowing audiences to relax and enjoy the ride. Schuster's physical comedy was universal, relying on visual gags and exaggerated movements that everyone could understand. The pratfalls, silly sound effects, and wild stunts were executed with such enthusiasm that anyone, regardless of their background, could find them funny. But it also poked fun at South Africa's cultural quirks, its unique blend of traditions and modern life. It had the courage to laugh at ourselves and each other, fostering a sense of shared identity and camaraderie. Sun City's glitzy setting, with its over-the-top architecture and vibrant atmosphere, was the perfect playground for Schuster's antics, amplifying the film's comedic energy. Beneath the silliness and the slapstick, there was a surprisingly touching story about belonging, about finding your place in the world, and the importance of family, both the one you're born into and the one you create. You genuinely rooted for Mr. Bones and Vince Lee, two characters from vastly different worlds who formed an unlikely but heartwarming friendship. The film arrived at a pivotal time when South Africa was still grappling with its post-apartheid identity, searching for common ground and a shared sense of national pride. It offered a hopeful vision where different cultures could clash, laugh at their differences, and ultimately come together in a spirit of unity and understanding. For 2 glorious hours, it made us forget our problems, our anxieties, and our differences, and just laugh together as one. That's the magic of great comedy, its ability to transport us to a place of pure joy and escapism. Mr. Bones wasn't just a movie, it was more than just entertainment. It was a shared experience, a collective moment of laughter and connection that brought people together from all walks of life. And that's why we all laughed, because in that shared laughter, we found a sense of belonging, a sense of unity, and a reminder of the simple joy of being human. Schuster's pranks weren't just random, they were carefully crafted. Each gag started with a wild but believable premise: a talking ATM, a moving coffin, a traffic cop demanding chickens. The genius was in the execution. Schuster's total commitment to his characters, from makeup to accent, made the illusion real. He stayed in character no matter how wild things got, ensuring genuine reactions. The environment was key. Hidden cameras, accomplices, and public spaces turned every prank into a live performance. Managing chaos and anticipating reactions was an art form. The big reveal, Schuster popping out and yelling, "You're on candid camera," was the payoff. That moment of confusion turning to laughter united prankster and victim. Schuster's gags were rarely mean-spirited, they were about shared, explosive laughter. He created moments of joy in the middle of ordinary days. That's what made his pranks legendary. It wasn't just about the joke, it was about the connection. And that's the secret sauce of Schuster's comedy. After Mr. Bones and its sequel, what next? For Schuster, the answer was simple: keep the laughs coming. He stuck to his winning formula: candid camera gags and slapstick films. "Oh shucks, I'm Gatball!" and Mama Jack were box office hits, proving his style still worked. He kept releasing films: Shucks Shabalala's Survival Guide, Mad Buddies, each packed with elaborate pranks. Critics were lukewarm, but audiences kept showing up for more. Schuster stayed out of the celebrity spotlight, focusing on his work and music. But the world was changing. Conversations about comedy, race, and representation were evolving. The very things that made his work popular were now being re-examined. Still, for a decade after Mr. Bones, Schuster was the king of South African comedy. The show went on, even as the world shifted around him. As the 2010s rolled on, Schuster kept making movies, but comedy was changing. Shucks, Your Country Needs You was a hit, but younger audiences started questioning his use of racial stereotypes and blackface. What was once seen as harmless fun was now under scrutiny. Schuster acknowledged the shift, expressing regret over some past work. In 2020, Showmax pulled several of his films for racially insensitive content, sparking national debate. His last major film, Frank and Fearless, had all the classic Schuster elements, slapstick, heart, and a conservation message, but didn't match his earlier box office success. New comedians and online creators were offering fresh laughs, and Schuster's formula was no longer the only game in town. Health challenges, including multiple back surgeries, forced him to slow down. The man who once thrived on physical comedy now faced chronic pain. Schuster shifted from making new pranks to reflecting on his career and legacy. He brought joy to millions, but also had to grapple with controversy. The king of pranks was navigating a new, more complicated world. Behind the pranks, Schuster's life is full of surprises. He was a talented rugby player starring for his university's first team. No wonder he pulled off those wild stunts. His music career is just as impressive. He released gold and platinum albums with songs that became national anthems. Schuster wasn't just a comedian who sang, he was a legit recording artist. For years, the list of South Africa's highest-grossing films was basically his filmography. He dominated the box office, out-earning Hollywood blockbusters at home. Schuster was a one-man film industry. Not all pranks were fun. Once, a prank involving a fake snake left a victim so distressed that Schuster genuinely regretted it. That moment revealed his true nature, a prankster with a big heart. He loved chaos, but he cared about the people he fooled. There's more to Schuster than meets the eye. Schuster's legacy is complicated, especially around his use of blackface. For years, he used makeup to portray black characters, a practice once accepted, now recognized as deeply offensive. As South Africa evolved, so did the conversation about race and comedy. Schuster's work was re-examined, sparking debates about what's acceptable in humor. He publicly expressed remorse, acknowledging the hurt his work caused. Schuster explained his intent was never to offend, but he accepted that impact matters more than intent. His willingness to listen and admit fault showed growth. For some, he's a national treasure. For others, a relic of a less enlightened time. Both views are valid. His story is a case study in comedy's evolution. Humor is tied to its era, and what's funny in one decade can be painful in the next. The debate around Schuster's films mirrors South Africa's own journey. His legacy is both joyful and complex, and that's what makes his story so important. Today, Leon Schuster lives a quieter life, far from the chaos of film sets. He's a grandfather, a music lover, and a more reflective figure, but his presence is still felt. South Africans still quote his movies and debate his legacy. Schuster's influence on local comedy is undeniable. He proved that South African stories could dominate the box office. He gave voice to everyday experiences, putting our quirks and accents on the big screen. His rainbow comedy was about laughing together, even at ourselves. His career is a lesson in how humor and society changes. Can we appreciate the joy he brought while acknowledging the flaws? Schuster's legacy demands that nuance. He's not a simple hero or villain, but a mirror of South Africa's journey. Ultimately, his importance lies in the laughter he brought. For over 40 years, he offered a joyful escape from life's struggles. You can't tell the story of South African comedy without Leon Schuster.